Now, Canadian retail sales very likely saw a rebound last month, but this was after a decline in June. And when you look bigger picture, it's not going to erase a dismal first half of the year, supporting the Bank of Canada's case to continue cutting rates. An advance update on July shows a bounce of 0.6%. Only the second month with a gain in sales this year, but it's coming after a drop of 0.3% in June. Now, overall, sales down by about 0.5% in the second quarter, following a drop of 0.4% in the first quarter. And this data marks the weakest 2 consecutive quarters since 2009 outside the pandemic, but it does keep the central bank on track to lower borrowing costs at a third straight meeting on September the 4th. Now, the U.S. is also very likely to cut interest rates next month. We got that signal from the Fed chair today in his speech at the annual Jackson Hole conference. Jerome Powell says the time has come to cut rates, but the size and scope of the cuts still to be determined based on data. The next interest rate announcement in the U.S. is September the 18th. Now, markets responded in kind to this news, with investors snapping up stocks after another bumpy week. Analysts have also been reminding us that between now and November the 5th, which is U.S. Election Day, we should expect volatility because history suggests September is the worst month in presidential election years in terms of stock market performance. Now, Bay Street also benefiting from the talk in the U.S. today. It did hit a record high for a third time this week, and it did see an advance this week, now up by about 11% this year. And if you find yourself at a Canadian airport next week, you might notice something. Air Canada pilots will be picketing as talks for a new deal continue. A strike by 5,400 members of the Airline Pilots Association is possible as soon as September the 17th, after members voted in favor of job action. A 10-year deal expired last year. Now, the union is looking to close the pay gap with large U.S. airlines, but it also notes that WestJet agreed to a new contract last year, which included a 24% pay bump over 4 years. The pickets will be up at airports in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Winnipeg on Tuesday to show solidarity as those contract talks drag on. Have a great weekend. In the Business Center, I'm Kris McCusker.